Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 2019 Toronto Regional Championship. I'm John Kettler, who is most unfortunate not to be part of that amazing experience in Round 7. But before we get into Round 8, which is looking to be pretty hyped too, we've got one quick message for you. So, are you looking to purchase Pokemon card singles you have seen being played today? If so, should head over to trollandtoad.com for all of your Pokemon card needs. Troll and Toad's massive inventory is always stocked with the best cards at the best prices. They also offer free shipping on orders of card singles over $25 within the entire United States. Canada, I don't know about. So get 10% off your order of Pokemon singles now through March 11th when using the coupon code Pokemon10 at checkout. TrollandToad.com also has one of the best buy lists on the web too, giving you the ability to turn your cards into cash. So head on over to TrollandToad.com. That's TROLLANDTOAD.com to buy or sell your Pokemon cards today. And so it looks like we have a pretty exciting matchup coming up here. What about headsets? Are we aware if everything's all white noisy and good?
All right, no headphones just yet. So let's kind of talk about last round, maybe what we've been seeing so far.
And how I'm jealous.
Sorry.
I felt the energy, but
I am sorry you couldn't experience that firsthand. My heart is still racing.
Well, I kind of
from the sheer cold of that Articuno play. You see what I did there?
Yeah, that's cute. That's cute.
Gotta
give you props.
Try to do a Kettler pun there. I did my best.
Oh man.
All right, so headphones are on now, so we're good to go to talk about this fantastic matchup we have.
And we have been waiting a long time to actually see this particular deck here today. We've talked a lot about it, but it's the return of Night March, that deck where you deal 20 times the number of Pokemon with the Night March attack in your discard pile. It's been a mainstay of many formats, especially the expanded format, for years at this point, and it's piloted by none other than Jimmy Pendarvis himself, one of the most decorated players of the past couple years.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to see this matchup here. I'm curious how it's going to pan out because typically in history's past, when one deck used to go first, it was a wrap. Like, that was it. There's no chance of him coming back. But
exactly.
now with the option of, Wally being banned now, Night March is a chance to propel its way to the top.
Right, and now looking over at Justin Bokhari's list, he's running Trevenant, which, as you were saying earlier, has historically had a very good Night March matchup, and I feel like that probably applies more or less today still. I'm seeing a lot of cards that are, for lack of a better word, hate on Night March, even if it's not necessarily intended that way, where we've got 4 Enhanced Hammer, discarding each and every one, those double colorless energy. I do not see a Faba, so that gives Jimmy a little bit of room possibly to wiggle around and deal with the fact that his energy are only going to the discard pile. So he has a single copy of Special Charge, means those energy are getting discarded, but at the exact same time, he can get them back, and effectively he has 6 to choose from. So it looks like the action's about to start up.
That was pretty cringy when you said 4 Enhanced Hammer, so I'm curious how Jimmy's going to be able to mitigate around that right now, but it looks like the names are on opposite sides right now, but it looks like Jimmy's going to be going first right now. Ultra Balling, drop it to the bin. 2 Joltics. You don't want those out there when Silent Fear starts going. Those are very easy prizes.
Free prizes. And to be honest, I feel a little awkward having starting Marshadow GX right now too. But you were going back to an earlier point, which I found interesting, which was you were cringing most at the Enhanced Hammers. Let's look at this a little glasses half full, though, because I don't see a lot of replenishable supporter hate. Because, I mean, on one hand, yeah, that's a lot of energy hate. But on the other hand, knockouts, that's effectively the same thing in some ways, and it's not permanent the way that Faba is. I'd be a lot more afraid as a Night March player if I knew that I was going to permanently lose my energy. But because I'm not, that makes me think, okay, I got a little bit of wiggle room, but at the same time, it's going to be really hard to get out of an item lock if you're Jimmy.
Absolutely there. So we do see a team mail here. The Ultra Ball did grab the Instructor Rangaroo from the Sun and Moon set, and now we see a team mail for Battle Compressor.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if that Orin Guru ends up becoming a liability. I feel like it's pretty necessary at this point just to get Jimmy set up, but at the same time...
Order Pad. That's an interesting inclusion in his deck. And he hits the
heads.
Yeah. So Battle Compressor does the usual first. Let's get all the lamp pants out of here. We can't attack with this, so let's just go ahead and throw that to the bin right now. But the Order Pad, let's see what he grabs off of that here.
Yeah, and if you aren't getting something to help you just completely go nuts on the first turn with Order Pad, you ain't doing it right. But it looks like he's already got that Battle Compressor, discarding those all-important Night Marchers to get lots of damage going. He already knows, I don't really want those Joltics, they're going to be liabilities for the most part. He's discarded 3. It looks like he's got 1 hanging, if I'm not mistaken. So he hasn't discarded 1. He's discarded 3, so whether that's intentional and he's just leaving that there for a later game decision, I don't know, or if it's just prize or something, that's yet to be seen. But I like the overall approach. It's pretty balanced. I'd like to see more Pumpkaboos, but Marsh Shadow's going to be putting in work.
There it is right now. Drops an escape rope off the Juniper right there. Going to discard his hand, draw 7. DCE to the Marsh Shadow GX. And let's see what he gets off of here right now. You know, we don't see any more Joltics here. He's probably going to compressor that last one in there. And then just thin out the stuff he doesn't need. Choice bands, he's not going to need that in this Trevenant matchup at all. See what else he eyes down here in his compressor. Now, how much thinning do you really want to do in this case here, knowing you're about to get item locked here at some point in the game?
Actually, wouldn't be minding doing a substantial amount of deck thinning, especially with item cards are not really running the chance of being too relevant when you're dealing basically a bajillion damage each turn with Night March.
So electro power?
Yeah, actually,
he
runs 2 electro power. That's
really cool.
The spice. Okay,
that's really cool. So that's what kind of takes him over the top for these tag team GX with all that high HP, and that's probably what takes it over the top for Night March. You know, it has a certain numbers it can get to, but electro power with Joltik plus 30 each one. That's spice.
Yeah, plus 30 for each for the attack of an electric Pokemon with only 2 copies and the whole deck. Though I gotta admit I like that. I'm a fan.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's not gonna be relevant in this matchup, but that is a pretty sweet tech.
It probably was relevant for the whole rest of the day. It's just for here we can at least get rid of it right now and be like, okay, it's an easy decision. And when you're making these little micromanaged deck thin choices, it's honestly a huge relief to have an easy choice.
Did he hit all 4 battle compressors?
Oh gosh, I think he's hit at least about 3 of them.
We're about to find out here. This search from. I think he did 1.
He hasn't even really gone through that much of his
3. Like he did all 4 battle compressors.
He hasn't drawn a whole lot of cards to really make it that likely.
And,
and we've got the let loose.
Ooh, hold on. This could be really bad for Justin here. Oh man. What does he get off of this let loose? It's what Marsh Shadow does though.
Yeah.
Turn 1 let loose into 4. A lot of these stage 1 cards in Justin's deck. He may not get there. We'll see. 4 and 3 Juniper.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you aren't prepared for let loose, and you just gotta let yourself go and walk out the door.
See, I think I saw T-Mail and Hands Hammer and a Marsh Shadow himself. So at least Marsh Shadow can save himself in his next turn.
Yeah, and good call to go ahead and VS Seeker that supporter. Have that supporter that draw power in your hand once you actually face down an item lock. And the hard bridge it, as we talked about before, not needing to Lele for it, not needing to search your deck at all, just having it right there, even though he runs a single copy of the card.
All right, so we do see a Bridget here. Seeing a Phantom, probably a Wobbuffet, I would assume here.
Yeah, and there it is, the 1 Wobbuffet. I'm interested to see how effective ability lock is going to be in this matchup versus just going ham with item lock and maybe trying to find some way around the Oranguru. And that's one thing, just looking down the list, that I really wish I hit. Maybe this is just a personal playstyle thing, but I would have killed to have a Faba instead of one of these cards just because of that float stone. But because Jimmy has that float stone there, the Oranguru is not going to be that much of a liability. Now, that said, the Marsh Shadow, that's still there, and the Marsh Shadow is itself a liability, and Jimmy only runs the 1 float stone. Now, he runs an escape rope, but that really doesn't do you a lot of good.
And it's already in the discard pile, too.
Yeah, and so it definitely doesn't do you a lot of good in the discard pile, but it certainly doesn't do you much good either when you have item lock. So at this point, that Marsh Shadow, it was really disruptive, but it's not it's almost as much of a liability as the Oranguru would have been.
How many of his Night March in the discard pile? I know he has a bunch there, but I'm curious if he has enough to kind of go through the duration of his game. Like, he's just going to commit to chaining Marsh Shadow GX at this point. So I think I see almost every Pumpkaboo and all the Lampins for sure.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is it because you have the progression of evolution going on in the game where you start out with just little only Phantoms, and then they go up to 110 HP Trevenants and then 160 HP Trev breaks. you can kind of stagger the way that you play it out, where just as long as you don't get yourself caught by item lock, if you have a sufficient number of Night Marchers in your discard pile at a certain point, you can reasonably be likely to get more that Magic 8 number by the time 160 hits the board, by the time
Absolutely.
Trev Break hits the board.
Yeah, and he's definitely there now. So now it's just kind of, getting to the point to where he can train those attackers before this Trev gets active. Order pad going to be a tails there, so not going to take advantage of that. They're opted to pass on the dowsing machine, so probably save that later on for any other future value he needs, for maybe some late game Verse Seekers, something along the lines there. Maybe a D value to bring back if Justin has to play his. Couple different thoughts there, but let's see what he grab. Probably going to grab a Punkaboo off the Rescue Stretcher.
Now, one thing that also can't be understated that hurt Justin so badly is missing the attachment or missing the Dimension Valley. So even with that Marsh Shadow to 4 cards, the odds of him getting one of those was actually pretty good between 9 energy and 4 stadiums. So not hitting that turn 1 trainer lock was bad. So the fact that he just topped it right now is especially bad luck. But he's got these enhanced hammers just keeping him in the game.
No. 2 enhanced hammers already down there.
And it's interesting that he has the Wobbuffet out right now, punishing all of that reliance.
And now he can't use the Marsh Shadow attack there.
Right, he can't use the Marsh Shadow, a GX. Unless he found some fighting energy somewhere.
Well,
but
he did pull a Guzma up now. The turn before he did Verse Seeker for Guzma with the Rangaroo.
And there we go, just like you said. Good call. Psychic Pokemon on both sides, but I think I got one to the right of me too.
And now we just need to find a DCE.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the discarding, the constant pressure of the enhanced hammer is that, regardless of where they're going, whether they're going the discard or the lost zone, the fact that you just have that constant item drop, that enhanced for double, and eventually we can be pretty sure that Justin at some point is going to score a knockout this game.
So he just shamed for 1, got the Juniper, it looks like, and a Verse Seeker in hand. Is he going to commit to just a huge dump? Okay, does Guzman again? He's probably going to pass, I would assume.
Yeah.
Brings up something. Okay.
If he's missing the double.
Yep. Has parallel in hand as well. Probably wants to hold that for a bit, or just go ahead and get rid of his shamans.
And there he goes, getting rid of both of them.
Okay. Not the strongest start for Justin right now. He's not, usually you see Trevenant, active turn 2 right away right now, and he's not being able, all because of that let loose you were just mentioning a few plays ago, is that set him right behind. He's still able to set up board, but not as far as getting Pokemon out, but no energy, no stadium to get to that Trevenant. Is Jimmy's able to just make way with his deck. It's going to get to a point where even when he does get item lock, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Justin just drew a whole bunch of nothing off of that Juniper.
I couldn't tell. That last card might have been either a Phantom or the Trevenant itself, but I don't see. Oh my goodness, nothing.
3-4 turns and just no item lock with a deck that is entirely themed around item lock.
Just built to do item lock. But Jimmy's in a rough spot too. Those 2 enhanced hammers really set him back a little bit. He's not able to find those other 2. You wonder if they're prized at this point potentially.
Yeah, and in addition to that, there's also the question about the special charge, where you're dealing with the same issues as you would be with the hard energy themselves. And so at this point, we have to wonder, okay, so if Jimmy doesn't chase down that special charge in time, then Justin, even with this horrible start the way that it is, with no energy, no Dimension Valley, no item lock, he might be able to just wear out the energy and, with both Shaman and the discard pile.
So Jimmy's deck,
Skyreturn loop.
Jimmy's deck looks super thin right now, and he does have Juniper in hand. Do you risk the play to try to hit a DC plus special charge to get that extra step on Justin, or you're going to wait it out?
Well, probably not, especially at this point when we're about to see an item lock. That's the thing with at this point, I think the special charge might be moot if we've got a pretty substantial item lock. If I'm not mistaken, Jimmy has the Guzma in his hand, so he has at least a way to play around it. It's awkward because you need that Guzma badly, you need to be able to get the item lock out of play. But at the same time, you need to draw cards and to hit in order to hit the special charge.
Mm-hmm.
So that requires like really good top decking or drawing cards in some way that would be very, very non-beneficial, very dangerous to keeping that Guzma.
Mm-hmm. All right, interesting. Okay, so he tested Rescue Scarf 2 to Trevenant here. He's still going through his turn right now. Mysterious Treasure drops to Espeon EX. Not going to be doing any de-evolving when you're playing against Night March. And probably going to grab another Trevenant here and just slowly start to build his army of trees to combat this Night March deck.
And he's sitting on top of an enhanced hammer too. One of his
Just
one
waiting.
of his four.
Just waiting.
Just ready.
Waiting.
Yep. And without now, there's a neat little tactic, some might call it a gimmick against Trevenant, you can use sometimes with Shaman, is Sky Return loops, where just you attach the double colorless to a Shaman, Sky Return for 30, save your energy, bring up another one, lather, rinse, repeat, keep on doing that. You could either do that between two Shamans or one Shaman with the free retreater like that Oranguru. Well, both are in the discard pile, so that option's kind of limited. So he really cannot conserve that energy as well as he would like to. So really, it's just Night March or bust.
So you did end up using the Ascension there, or no, he ended up.
Although actually, you know what? I'm going to correct myself because I think that he could use it with the Marshadow GX. That might be a possibility, especially you get the 2-for-1 benefit of the Marshadow using Sky Return, even if it's only dealing 10 damage, because if it's close to getting knocked out, you save the energy if it wasn't enhanced away.
Wasn't that Trevenant just evolved the previous turn? So I was curious how he got to that Trev Bay break just now. Did he evolve twice, or did we just one turn
I think
behind?
Jimmy just passed.
Okay.
So I mean, if that's how I'm rationalizing, anyways.
Okay, because that's why I was confused for a second
Yeah.
there. I was like, how did he get that Trev break so quickly there? But we may have just missed a turn from a pass from Jimmy because of the item lock.
Yeah, and in addition to that, and there's the end, so that might actually be an out for Jimmy to hit the right card combination he needs to get more energy back without really hindering himself.
And Justin can't attack it. He needs to know the energy or the Dimension Valley. And Jimmy's not going to play those cards.
No, don't give your opponent free stuff.
Interesting enough, Jimmy, you can just tell he bases more of a strategy around Joltik and Marshadow because he only plays one Dimension Valley. So Pumpkaboo's not going to get much utility out of that. Guzma, I don't see an energy though.
Energy. Oh, okay. So we got the
Tree Slam to hit for 120, and then all right, he scoops.
Oh man, we've got an early scoop here, and that's a pretty good idea to be honest. Because if
go ahead.
Yeah, sure. It's like I think it's a pretty good idea here because if any deck is going to be able to score 2 quick wins back to back, it's going to be something like Night March that's able to hit massive amounts of damage within the first turn or two, right?
Yep. And he has to find those DCs, and that was honestly the ultimate downfall there, is not be able to constantly chain those DCs there. And we go back to that play we're just talking about. Would you, prior to he had to set up on Trevenant, just have gone for those DCEs in that special charge that turn? I guess we don't know the direct counts of his deck at that time. Maybe it was 7 or less. It could have been risky. But if it was like 15 or more, I feel like you just go for it.
Go for it and try to get some energy. Yeah, I mean, I can get pretty much on board with that, especially where it happens so many times with a deck like Night March where if you don't have your energy and it's already been taken away, then I mean it's just sitting there.
The thing that's rough is if Justin doesn't bench any GXs here, Jimmy has to get full use of each DCE plus the special charges DCEs to be able to get 6 prizes. So he has to make 0 mistakes in the energy department right there. And then right at the gate when Justin did that first enhanced hammer and Marshall didn't take any knockouts on it, he already lost the value directly there and ultimately is behind unless Justin benches a GX.
That's a good point where that was something that was a direct consequence of the first turn. Now, granted, I think Jimmy just staring down that setup the way that it was had reasonably assumed that his opponent was going to have a pretty good chance of getting turn 1 item lock. So that's why we saw the actions the way that they happened. But as it did happen, he just had to bridge it for no item lock and just a bunch of Pumpkaboos.
So back into the matchup here. Jimmy is going first, and we see a Pumpkaboo start in an Ultra Ball, discarding a Lampent and a Pumpkaboo, and doing an inventory search right now to check his prizes, see what all he has in here. Probably do the DCE count as well to see, what his odds are hitting these or any prize right now as well.
Yeah, I argue that's probably the most important thing to search with Night March, not just for this matchup, but maybe even in general. And in some ways, barring some sort of absurd possibility where you have 5 or 6 Night Marchers in the prizes, it might even be more important to search the Night Marchers itself.
Mm-hmm.
Although, best practice is to search for everything
Mm-hmm.
and to get an idea of everything, although it's easier said than done when you've got the constraint of a clock and a limited venue tournament like this, and
Mm-hmm.
also just being considerate. It's tough to balance out the need to search through and figure out your prizes with the realities of the tournament.
Interesting enough, it kind of goes back to the point there is that Jimmy is opting for the Marshadow play here, and I think it's because it really is the only option of attackers, right? We spoke about how his list here only plays the one dimension value, so he's pretty much committed to either attacking with Joltik or this Marshadow GX. And at Trevenant matchup, Joltik is the last thing you want on your bench. Silent Fear just creeps on those easy prizes. So going back to that Marshadow GX, but that weakness, sidekick weakness right there, Tree Slam is looking pretty strong.
It is looking pretty strong, although the saving grace when it comes to the weakness is that it's not a one shot. So
Mm-hmm.
it may hit for a whole bunch of damage, but Jimmy can adjust. He can do something a little bit different depending on that, and he can even anticipate not getting knocked out, which is an advantage in its own right.
Mm-hmm. 100% there. Order pad getting flipped there was a Tails versus Seeker probably to grab. Looks like another Juniper. Save himself from any potential item block. And the Wob is active too, so you're not going to be able to see any Shamans as well this turn.
We just see the looks like just a pass here.
All right, going on the Justice turn right now. We see the Wob active and a Phantom on bench. Just a quick end. Must have been nothing going on in his
Yeah,
hand. Just
doesn't look like it.
Just go ahead and do a reset.
Now, looking down Justin's list here, I really don't see a whole lot of outs to a turn 1 item lock if he
Mhm.
wants it, except a Mystery Energy reduces the retreat of a Psychic Pokemon it's attached to by 2,
Okay.
and actually getting a Dimension Valley. So those are a couple specific cards, and at this point, he might be fine, or maybe not fine, but be willing to tolerate sitting with an ability lock instead of an item lock. But
I
you know,
mean,
I would go for the item lock if I
yeah,
could.
exactly. Well,
Like,
there's
no
Mystery
doubt.
Energy, and I think Computer Search as well, so he can get to
Yeah.
that play. And I agree with you, though. I think the item lock is more optimal here. He definitely had complete opposite of that Berserk start he had in Game 1, and has definitely slowed down a lot here, him being Jimmy. And if he could just pull up that item lock there,
There's the D
D-Valley,
Valley in hand
Ditto,
and the
Mystery.
Mystery Energy.
So, yep, all those different plays right now are Ascension right to the Trevenant, and here we are.
And then he's just got a Computer Search as a cherry on top, right?
Man, oof. I'm not sure what Jimmy's feeling right now, but it can't be good.
And that's got an oof and a yikes for me, dog.
He might be
All
able to take
rolled
the
in
KO
one.
there. He needs, what, 6-9 markers in the discard pile? If he was able to get that many in there, I can't tell. It looks like 4 at the very least.
So if he's
Uh,
sitting on all the cards he needs, that would be a great response knockout.
So we do have the DCE in hand and a Guzma. So there is a potential chance of taking the knockout on probably the Ditto because if Wob comes active, Marshadow doesn't go into effect. So that could be a potential option there. We'll see, though. He is at the point, though, where he can chain knockouts right now.
And this is interesting here. He's flirting with the idea of playing the Guzma. And there he goes. He drops it. Not quite sure what he wants to send it on, but there we go. We've got
Yep.
that Marshadow out, and as long as he's got the double, I don't think that he would be doing this if he didn't have the double.
Yep,
but
he does have the double.
Yeah, and he's got the knockout here to at least move his board state along a little.
Okay, so 2 Joltics, Lampent going to the discard pile, powering up that Night March attack. Looks like we're at about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think that other second Pokemon is a Marshadow. So 7 Night Marchers in the discard pile right now, doing 140 damage. And actually going to do 280 because I believe Ditto's weak to fighting.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so some hecka awesome overkill right there on a Ditto, but hey, it doesn't become a Trevenant, so if I'm Jimmy, I'm happy. Although I'd be a little bit happier if I had just one more Night Marcher later. Not necessarily right now. He's fine with only 7, but once he faces down the Trevenant break, he wants to have something like that. Or if not that, then the double colorless energy maybe to follow up with some sort of cute play, like if Shaman ends up in the discard.
Ooh.
Ace Trainer, I love it.
With the Wob active, too.
If you are behind on prizes, you get to shuffle both players' hands into their respective decks, and the player who's behind in prizes, you draw 6 and your opponent draws 3. So basically, if you've been seeing N a lot of times today and been thinking, man, such and such person got really unlucky off of it, this is basically kind of like an N on steroids.
Yeah, this is really rough right now. And Idoloc's going to obviously come to active spot here. You're going to probably see his. Let's see what he gets off this here, but eventually to say it's going to be Silent Fear, D-Valley, or Break. Okay, we see the computer search, see a second energy. Couldn't see the rest of his hand.
Got a little bit of confusion here. Let's see how many cards both. Looks like they drew the right amount of cards.
The judge stopping him for something right now?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
Okay, looks like
We're resuming play.
they're resuming play.
Well, Justin's looking at his hand right now, but can't tell if he. Okay.
Looks like he's just thinking about it, and Jimmy's resigned to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because, well, it's not his turn, so he can't do anything, but also good possibility, blind speculation here, it might not be that much to work off of.
All right, interesting. I think he does what mysterious. Okay, he's computer searching a way to. That was a deval from the previous turn, never mind. But see computer search coming down. He's just deciding what 2 cards to discard. Let's see here. Probably eyeing, unless he has a devalue already handy, he might be eyeing that down to get a Silent Fear play off. We'll kind of see how he approaches it. Okay, drop Super Rod.
That's
I couldn't tell
that's
the
the
card.
thing that hurts. So I can imagine that Super Rod being the one that hurts.
Probably
the
was
most.
going back and forth with. It's just really deciding if he wants to lose this or not.
Yeah, and fortunately for Justin, he runs a lot of ways to replenish his resources. It's just now there's a cap on the energy that he has in his deck, so he doesn't have
Ooh,
quite as much flexibility.
And a counter catcher on the Lele. Yep.
All sorts of great come from behind plays going on right here, and Trevenant does not really care that much about whether or not it's ahead or behind in some situations. It just wants to set itself up in the most controlling, dominating situation it can.
So counter catcher brought up the Tapu Lele. Jimmy did have a Juniper. I believe he got it off the prizes actually there. And I don't think I see a DC unless it's creeping in the back over there. I don't see a DCE at all.
No, looks like just a whole bunch of junk to me.
Yep, and it's about to begin. Juniper, I would assume, coming right here. Oh, yep. Silent Fear is coming.
It's a coming.
Silent Fear is coming.
It's a coming, and it's not even October yet. So we got some. I'm wondering what Justin's really looking for here so much other than maybe the second energy or a D-Valley. I honestly, as long as he just he continues to streamline these Trevs and try to get more and more out into play, he'll be A-okay this game.
That's it. Jimmy just scoops.
And Jimmy feels the exact same way, so he scoops prematurely, says, don't want to hang around here. Let's go ahead and just go on to next round and get things going on.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to stick around for that. I don't think it would have been remotely hardly anyway unless he had Guzma's, DC. He had to hit every piece every turn to be able to get right back into the matchup there. So, unfortunately enough for Jimmy there, that Trevenant was just too strong today.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that Night March does have a lot of really good matchups in this field. There are a lot of, I mean, we've talked a little bit about how reliant some tag team GX decks are on their 3 prize knockout Pokemon. So Night March exploits that, makes a big dent in those decks. But in addition to that, it's also good against just a lot of the GX decks in general, where it has a decent exchange. And the decks that weren't that good for Night March, and the decks, the cards in particular that were really bad for Night March, are not that popular. Like so, some control has seemed to rise again, like Trevenant, but other forms of control, like some of the weirder versions of Seismitoad, Zoroark, we've seen aren't nearly as popular now.
We actually haven't seen that deck at all really today, at least not in the top tables that we've been walking through as well.
Nope.
But we're going to take a brief second here. Going to do an interview with the winner, locking up his spot for day 2, I believe. And I'll be right back with you here shortly. And we are back with the winner of round 8, Justin Bokhari here. Winner with Trevenant over a very convincing match over Night March. So how did you settle on the deck, Trevenant? What kind of made you come to that conclusion for that deck?
Honestly, had no idea what I was going to play. 3 a.m. last night, I was set on top with the Hitmonchan
Yeah.
So I woke up this morning. I said, you know what, let's just go with Trev and see what happens. We got a good matchup versus all these single prize guys. The Pikarom matchup was the only one I was afraid of. Everything else I felt like was close to 50-50 or favorable. So I just said, hopefully I hit the right matchups, and so far it's been working out okay.
Have you hit any Pikachu? What kind of matches have you hit today? Have you hit any Pikachus?
I did. That's my only loss. The one Pikachu I hit round 2, I got bodied pretty badly, and that's my only loss today. Everything else has been like single prize, or the tie was a Trev mirror, which is just like we both stuff happened and we just tied. And yeah, outside of that, it's been single prize stuff, and it's pretty smooth sailing for the most part.
So going into that match there, game 1 there, you had a little bit of a slower start. You didn't get any Trevenants out for
the
few
let
turns.
The let loose got me pretty good.
The let loose was definitely rough. They're always kind of going through your mind right now as you see Jimmy just constantly kind of getting there. But those enhanced hammers also was there.
When I saw my hand with let loose, and I saw Jimmy start where he went, I think all 4 battle compressor
all
turn
4
one.
turn
So I was
one.
like, all right, so. But I saw my hand of double enhanced, but I'm pretty sure it was double enhanced, super rod, phantom. And I think I started Phantom, and then I drew Bridget, and I was like, okay, we can survive a couple of turns, maybe draw some stuff. So he started Marsh Auto too, so I know if I got the Wob, maybe I can buy myself more turns with the enhanced Hammer Wob. And then afterwards, he told me he prized his 2 DCE and charge. So once I double enhanced, the game was over, and I didn't know that, but yeah.
Yeah, and
thankfully I drew the enhanced.
Right at the start of the game, we were looking at the list here, and we noticed that there was 4 enhanced hammer on the list, and I was kind of with John. I'm like, this is going to be it's going to be. Whew. It's going to be a rough one here. But, congrats on your victory here.
Thank you.
Sealed up deal day 2.
Thank you.
And you have any matchups going into day 2 that you're kind of like you've seen around top tables you're kind of worried about?
As long as it's not Pikarom, I'm okay with anything else.
Perfect. Well, congrats to you on your finish right there.
Thank you very much.
You got any shout-outs for the stream at all?
Sure. Shout out to Top Cut Comics in Chicago. They're a great store. Shout out to the M Squad in Jersey and New York. You guys know who you are. Also, the Maryland crew and Will Jenkins, testing partner, and everybody at the Airbnb I'm staying at. Yeah. Great guys.
All right, we'll be back here with some additional content while we got a little bit extra time here in round 8, and we'll be back with you here shortly.
Thank you.